Welcome back to another episode of Driving While Black Podcast. I am your boy, Akino Ladisu.
And I'm Chuck Tees.
What up, Chucky?
What's happening, brother?
I'm here, man. Blessed and highly favored, doing better than I deserve, man.
Man, let's keep it going. Let's
How
do
you
even
feeling?
better than that.
How you feeling, man? How was your week,
I'm
brother?
doing great, man. No complaints on my end.
Okay, how was your, we stuck in 2020, but how was your Christmas? How was your holidays? How was your New Year? How was all that?
Everything was beautiful. You know, the family saw, my wife's side of the family, my side of the family, did the whole gift exchange. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, nice, man.
How about yourself,
nice.
man? How was your holidays?
I can't complain, man. Got my son a bunch of gifts. Got my wife some gifts. So as long as they're happy, I'm ecstatic. I'm happy. So it was a blessed time, man. We're all here. We're all healthy. If you're watching this right now, we in 2021. So good riddance to 2020.
Man,
That's a
behind.
new year, new energy. So this is gonna be a historical year in a good way, in a positive way. So if you're rocking with us right now, that means you made it. You survived 2020, the dreadful 2020, and new beginnings. So again, thank you for tuning in. This is Driving While Black Podcast, where we navigate the black experience and talk about everything concerning blackness. We in LA right now. It's sunny outside. It's beautiful. So again, thank you for riding with us.
Man, it's crazy. The last episode, you let the people know you're expecting another one.
Oh, yes. So I'm expecting another little boy, which is crazy. I wanted a girl, or I thought I wanted a girl until I spoke to my wife about it. She was dead set on a boy. When we had Elijah, she wanted a boy. This one, she's like, I want a boy. And I'm like, why you want a boy so bad? Like, I try to, convince her, all the reasons why it'd be fun to have a girl. And she's like, nope, I want a boy. And then I'm like, why don't you want a girl, though? She kind of spooked me out of wanting a girl.
Really?
Yeah. And
she would know. She's a female. So
she's a girl, and she's like, you got to deal with this. And I was like, ooh, you might be right. So, as long cliche answer, as long as I have a healthy baby, that of course that's number one. But I'm happy. I'm going to be raising two boys. So hopefully one of them, or maybe both of them, go to the league or something like that. You know what I mean?
Get that jump shot right.
Get the jump shot right, and they can take care of their pops in his old age. When they making that, that NBA money.
Man, that league money, they cut that real check.
They cutting checks in the NBA. So,
oh boy, you see, what's his name just cut a check for Giannis. He re-signed.
How much?
With the Bucks. I think it was like $228 million for 5 years.
That's crazy.
Crazy. If we can get that type of money, hey, son, shoot this jump shot.
Let's go.
But anyway, man, I just want to congratulate you on your new blessing, man. It's so beautiful to see.
Thank you.
Seeing a hard, working black man take care of his family. Got another baby on the way. And it's beautiful outside looking in, man. So I just want to salute you.
Absolutely, man. And kind of building upon that, that's what today's episode is about. It's going to be about parenthood, about fatherhood, and ultimately about our black and brown fathers. We're going to be talking to y'all. We're going to be celebrating y'all. And, we kind of be sharing our POV, our experiences, what we've experienced growing up, with our fathers and things of that nature, all that cool stuff. But, just before we get into that, we just want to kind of reiterate once again what we are about. So, Chuck, let them know.
Man, as you guys know, this is the Driving While Black Podcast. We're here to, basically for us, it's a form of therapy. We're able to talk about these things in our communities that we feel strongly about. And also, engage with you guys and give us your feedback. There's a lot of different array of topics that we can discuss when it comes to the black community. And, we just want to take them one at a time and, take you on a ride. And I hope you enjoy it.
Right, absolutely. And I think you hit it on the head. First and foremost, just a form of therapy for us. But for you guys as well, we want you guys in your living rooms or in your car or wherever you are. If you're watching this with a spouse or a brother or a sister or a friend, just engage in the conversation, engage in the dialogue, kind of get some of your feelings out, how you're feeling. There's a lot going on in our community. So we started this platform as a way to kind of air out our grievances and put it all out there and get some of that weight up off us. So that's what this platform is about. It's continuing the dialogue, continuing the conversation, exchanging ideas and perspectives, so that we can come to some sort of understanding. And what we want you guys to do as well, have these conversations with people that don't look like you.
Definitely.
Have these conversations with people that don't think like you, again, so we can all come together, have some type of understanding, and move forward in a positive manner.
Definitely, because if you have these conversations with people that, don't look like you, don't think like you, you're able to just gain another perspective, and you're just able to add it, another tool to your arsenal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't forget, we are also here to celebrate our communities, celebrate our people, our black and brown brothers and sisters. So if you haven't already, tune into our last episode, episode 2. We were talking about our cultural heroes, the people in our communities that made a strong impact and imprint on our community. So check that out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you stream or watch or listen to your content. So but yeah, let's get into it, man. We're talking about parenthood. We're talking about fathers. We're talking about black fathers, man. So Chuck, you a black father of a young king.
Yes, indeed.
Of a young king, Kingston. How old's Kingston now?
Man, Kingston, 16 months.
16 months. So what is that?
Months.
That's a year,
it's a year and 4 months.
4 months.
So he's a year and a third out the way from being 2?
Okay, yeah. Parents, never mind us. Parents talking months when their kids, like, I guess, younger than 2. We talking months. So you gotta convert the 16 months, a year.
Yeah, we
and
do that
4
quick
months.
math equation in our head real quick.
Cool, man. So, how's your experience been as a father so far, man?
Man, me growing up, that's something you thought about. Like, I wonder what it'd be like to have a kid. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
It was the most. In the beginning, it was very scary.
Oh,
absolutely. Because you start thinking about the influence you'll have on your son,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on how you grew up, you kind of instinctually know like they're gonna get some of those pieces from you.
Oh, absolutely. Good or bad?
Good or bad, they're gonna
Absolutely.
get them from you. So for me, it was scary because I'm mindful of that, and you kind of want to break certain generational curses.
For sure, absolutely.
So it was very scary at first, but as time went on and I encouraged my wife, through her pregnancy and having the baby, you just kind of get a feel for the, for the role. And you kind of just go for it.
Yeah.
There's no script to be a parent.
Right.
There's
no handbook,
there's really
nothing like that.
Yeah, there isn't a wrong way. There kind of is a wrong way, but there is no right way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's all pretty much, subjective to the person's experience.
Right, exactly. I would say, a lot of parenting is based on your upbringing and your past experiences. And I feel like a lot of the way I parent, and I don't know if this is right, I parent from a perspective of kind of what some of the mistakes that if we're talking about black fathers and fathers, some of the mistakes that my dad I felt made, or how I felt growing up as a kid, and things that I wanted, or areas I felt he lacked in, I tried to overcompensate with my son Elijah.
Okay.
But of course, there's a lot of great things that my dad did as well that I make sure I implement in my parenting arsenal. But a lot of it's things that I find myself a lot analyzing my childhood, especially being a father now to a 2-year-old, analyzing my relationship with my dad and just how he raised me and just our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like as a parent, a lot of it's going to be trying to do a little bit better than what your parents did and try to learn from their mistakes. Where they made mistakes, their parents made mistakes, we're going to make mistakes too, but it's just trying to learn from their mistakes and the mistakes, and trying to move the needle in parenting. So
Right. I think that's, honestly the best way we can all, take that first step is we all have a firsthand experience of being the child or being the son.
Right, right, right.
So you kind of view your parents and you see what they do, and as a kid you don't think about it, but as you have a kid,
Yeah.
whether it be a boy or a girl, and you kind of think about those experiences you had as a kid, and you kind of recall on them and think, ooh, I didn't like that, or I like that, and I can see how that, benefited me, or I can see how that hurt me in a certain aspect. So definitely, you take the positive structure of your parents, you take out the negative parts, and you implement the parts that you feel that can just make it better.
Exactly.
So that's definitely a good way to go about it. But one thing we should talk about is a stereotype about black fathers.
Okay.
There's a stereotype that, black men don't raise their kids, or black men aren't around. And I think that in certain situations are true, and, you can't deny that. But also we have to highlight that that's not true.
Right, absolutely.
Especially now in today's generation, because a lot of us may have had a parent that, was never there, or was there part-time.
Right, right.
So there's different variations of having your father present or lack of presence in the household.
Right, right.
So for you, what was that like? How was your relationship with, your father, and in regards to how you perceived it?
Well, before I get into that, I want to just real quick, I'll definitely answer your question, but I want to shout out all the parents out there. And no one let me know how, I always wanted a kid, but I'm like, no one let me know how hard this shit is, man. Being a parent is tough.
Yeah.
And it's me and my wife too. So, my son thankfully has two parents in the household, right? Mm-hmm. And for the most part, we're on the same page. We communicate well. We kind of talk about, our future and, what we want for our son and things like that. But it's still pretty hard. And we don't have family here, so it's really just us kind of, taking care of our son. We don't have too much help. So it's hard, man. So I want to salute all parents out there, but especially salute single parents.
Right, definitely.
Whether you're a single father or you're a single mother, man, you're a superhero. Because this is not easy, man. I'm raising a 2-year-old going on 3-year-old right now.
Right.
So, those terrible 2s, terrible 3s they talk about, it is
That's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Ooh.
You know what? I have another question. Skip the last question I had. You talked about it being just you and your wife.
Yeah.
Raising your kids. So talk about, the struggles of communication and how communication is really one of the major factors in keeping that family balance.
For sure. Yeah, like I said, it's just me and my wife. I'm originally from Toronto. My wife is from Atlanta. Of course, we live in LA now, so we have no family here. Her brother actually just moved from New York here, so that was a couple weeks ago. So that's nice. Literally our only blood family here. So literally it's our day. She works from home. So she literally works in the morning when I'm there and I watch Elijah. When I leave, she takes care of him. When he takes a nap, she works again. And then she works a little bit more on my days off. So it's literally she works and then takes care of our son.
Right.
I go to work, and then on my days off, it's not really a day off because I have to watch him so she can work.
Right.
So it's a constant, we don't sleep. We're kind of running after a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. So it's all the work is put on us. He does go to school before the whole COVID thing. We made a decision talking about communication. We made a mutual decision to homeschool him. Mm-hmm. So he, my wife is or was a teacher, so she does a great job homeschooling him and things like that. But he does go to school about once a week, so that's our only real, for like 3 hours though. Mm-hmm. So that's our only real time to ourselves, our only real break. Other than that, we're either working or with him.
Right.
So. But to answer your question, communication is key, man, especially when you are raising, your son or your daughter. Communication as far as, how you want to educate them, right?
That's a big one.
Do you want them to be homeschooled? Do you want them to go to public school or private school? What do you see for them in the future? You know, just what do you see for your family in the future? You got to have a lot of these different conversations, because it's not just you and your spouse anymore. It's this person that you're raising and molding to be, a member of society. So communication is key. I think we're always talking about our son, about Elijah, and our plans for him and how we want to raise him. We don't always agree, of course, but I think the main thing is we do have that communication and we do talk it out, and then we kind of just let things unfold as they unfold, and just continuous communication.
Right. Because that's one thing that is major in relationships is communication. Because
Absolutely.
Hopefully before you even get to the stage of a kid, you and your significant other have developed communication to where you can talk out your problems.
Absolutely.
It's because when you add a kid into the equation, it's a whole different set of issues that you have to manage.
Yeah.
As far as communication, I know for me personally, growing up, I know my parents didn't have the best communication skills. Obviously, they didn't make it long as far as after me.
Right.
They didn't make it that long. And they were young. My mother was young. But when you're young, you kind of act on emotion before logic.
Right, right.
And you have a lack of communication.
Right.
So communication is very important, when it comes to your spouse and, with time management. Because like you said, she goes, she's with your son most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you go to work and then you switch off.
Right.
But there are some people out there that once they get off, they're like, well, I want to go do this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I want to go hang out with my boys, or
Exactly.
I want to go to the bar, get a drink, or I want to go to the gym and
yeah. I want to live life.
I want to kind of live life a little bit.
Yep,
but then you got your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, like, yo, but I've been with this kid for 8 hours today, and I want a break.
I need to see I need to have some adult interaction. I hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. I've been with this 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I want to have some adult interaction. I either want to go out with my friends or I want to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Right.
But I'm coming in from work and I'm like, I've been having too much adult interaction. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
So yeah, it's that dynamic that you kind of have to work through. And how have you been able to work through that?
Fortunately for me, COVID kind of helped that situation, because instead of me being out every day working, I'm home. Okay. So, growing up throughout his life, I was home. So usually a parent or father, your son's first, couple weeks, you might get paternity leave, you might take off work, whatever the case may be, use your vacation time. Right. But after that, you go back to work.
Right.
But with COVID in place, I was able to stay home and see my son every day and actually see the different things he learns, or he does something different, or says his first word, or takes his first step. So I was able to start there and build my communication skills when it comes to my wife at the same time.
Right.
So like you said, my wife is also, she was previously a teacher, so she's very good at
our wives actually work together.
They did. Yeah. They work together at the same school. Yeah. So they're very good at just putting together curriculums.
Absolutely.
for the child, things that I would never think of.
Oh, I have when I'm off and I'm like, and she's like, all right, cool, you got it. I'm like, what am I doing today? Like, what activities are we supposed to be doing? And she kind of guides me in that area. I'm just more so like, all right, let's go to the park, let's shoot some hoops, let's play some sports. I'm kind of in that department, but yeah, she's good at the curriculum and the homeschool activities, all that stuff.
So like, man, big ups to our wives for doing that, because they're doing things that I don't even think about teaching. My son. So man, you guys played such a huge role in our lives. We love you, appreciate you.
We love you, appreciate you.
But back to what I was saying is, that communication. Like, she'll tell me certain things in certain situations, like for me, I was disciplined as growing up as a kid. And so like my son will do certain things that instinctually, like, yo, there needs to be a disciplinary action here.
Right.
But then she'll talk to me and be like, well, look at it from this perspective.
Yeah.
And she'll kind of break it down. She'll get me out of my mind to kind of, see her perspective, and I'm like, okay, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And instead of like being like, no, this is how I need to do it.
Right,
You know,
right.
like, and kind of forcing it.
Right.
Because if you force it, then you're leading into some type of lack of communication or a controversy between, whatever is being done.
Right,
so
right.
listening first before you talk. Listening
Yeah.
to your wife first, or your girlfriend, or your baby mama, to what they have to say, because oftentimes than not, they're the ones with the kid all the time.
Right, right. Absolutely.
So when we want to go out and do our thing, and then she's like, no, like, you need to come home,
Yeah.
see your kid,
Right.
engage with them, play with them.
Yeah.
Let me take a break.
Yeah.
Let me go breathe. Let me go have some other human interaction, and you kind of have that trade-off. But that doesn't happen smoothly without communication.
Without communication. Communication is definitely key. But you did mention that you were fortunate enough to be with Kingston kind of from his birth all the way up to now, right? Because which is because you work from home, which is a blessing. I was on maternity leave. I had like 30 days where I was just home, but then of course I went back to work after that. And I'll speak to my personal experience. That was extremely tough for me because I remember for the first few weeks, I was still able to go home and put him to bed, and I was able to spend time with him in the morning, and then I had my off day, so it was cool. But then I remember my wife telling me, because again, they're teachers and they plan a lot, and they have their sleep schedule set out and things like that. So she was like, yo, I'm changing his sleep schedule. I'm putting him to bed early. And I'm like, great. So now I can't put him to bed.
Right.
And that started to mess with me a lot. And that started to affect me. And it was tough not being there. Especially he's my first kid. He's a few months old, probably at that point, maybe not even. And not being able to put him to bed, maybe see him a couple hours a day, it was tough for me, man.
Yeah.
But speak to just being there from the beginning and kind of the importance, in your opinion, of being there full time, all the time, with your son.
Man. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be there, pretty much every single day. And that opportunity doesn't happen to many.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it was a beautiful thing, because I always anticipated being a father, but being a father to a little boy kind of hit me in a different way, due to my childhood upbringing and my experience with my father and stepfather. So I anticipated, like, I'm going to try to be the best father I can be.
Absolutely.
And going through those moments in those days, like, it was tough at first, because when he's a baby, all he wants is mom. Right. So then you're there, you're off work, and you're like, all right, like, let's do it. Like, with my son, and then he's just like, mama, like, crying, gotta feed him, nap.
Yeah.
And it's like, you grab him, you pick him up, and he's cool with you for a little bit. And then he's like, nope, mama. Right? He starts crying. So for the first 6 months, it was tough. But after that first 6 months, I was like, he started, like, he recognized me. Like, I would leave for work. Like, if the day I did leave, I'd come back, and he would look at me, and he would smile.
Yeah.
So then I started to recognize, like, oh, he's happy I came home. Or he was sad that I left.
Yeah.
And talking from a lot of my friends that have kids, a lot of my friends or people that I know, when they have an infant child, they're not really interactive with the infant child, because, as a father, you're like, well, nothing I can do.
Right,
you know what I mean? So I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it to moms. Moms, do your thing. And when the kid gets a little bit more interactive, I'll come back around.
Right.
And, instinctually, that might be like a logical answer. But now going through it as being the father that was there every step of the way, like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
Because you were able to develop that bond.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I walk through the door, my son looks at me, and he can't walk yet, but he's looking at me and he's smiling.
Yeah.
So I know, like, that kind of an indication that he loves you, right?
Absolutely.
So it makes you feel good, and you're like, oh, baby, come here, and you grab him and you do your thing. So over the process of that, and he starts walking and saying little words, you open the door and he's like, dad.
Yeah.
And then he's running at you and hugging you, and that's the best feeling in the world. And this is coming from a human being that's only been on this planet a year and some months.
Right.
So that that human being already has the intelligence to say, hey, this is my dad. He came home. I'm so happy.
Right.
You know? And it's the most rewarding feeling in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, being a father is the most, by far, it's probably it's going to be really hard again, being a father to a toddler, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, man. It's the most rewarding thing to now see my son go from, saying gibberish to crawling to talking to now he's tearing up the house, running all over the place. He's telling me what to do. He's bossing me around, telling me, but yeah, it's by far the most rewarding thing. And for me, because I had to go back to work so quick, and because I do work a lot, I also wanted to be, based on my experience growing up, I didn't live with my dad. So kind of just going back to, moving the needle of parenting and trying to kind of change some of the things you went through as a child. I wanted to make sure, I was there as much as possible for my son. So, even though I do work a lot, I make sure I spend any free time I have with my son.
Right.
And not just being present, but like really engaging with him. I spent a lot of time just even when he couldn't talk and he was a little baby and he was saying gibberish, I would have full-blown conversations with him. How was your day? What did you do today? What did you learn? And just spending that time and just communicating and just telling him I love him, giving him hugs, kissing him every chance I get. Because again, I didn't live with my dad. So I didn't have those moments every single day with my dad where we could bond and build a relationship together. It was kind of, I went to my dad's house every other weekend. And I saw him sometimes throughout the week. My dad was a very active dad. Loved my dad. He was very active. He was in my life. Great dad. But again, I think if we're talking about just kind of improving our experiences as, growing up, I make an effort again to be there full time, be there in the house, and make sure I'm making an imprint on his life every single day.
Right.
That is something that's really important to me. But of course, life, doesn't is not like that for everybody.
Right.
So you have some fathers that are not married to the mother of their children. You have some that are just kind of date or girlfriend and boyfriend type of situation. Might be living together, might not be living together. What advice would you give to those fathers out there?
So you would say that just a father that's not in the house all the time.
Yeah, so a father that is not married to the mother of their children, and is there's not that real. So even if they are there, they might be dating. So it's like they get into a fight. It's like, all right, I'm out of here.
Right.
It's not that commitment and that tie.
Yeah. So, So with that, if you're not a full-time father and you have a child and he's out there, first of all, make the effort to spend the time. Sure. I had a situation. I took my son to the beach, just me and him. And me and him are on the beach. We have our tent set up, and I have a shovel and pail, and we're building little sand castles.
Yep.
And I had this this man come up to me, and he goes, "That's so great that you're spending time with your son, because the more time you spend with him now, the more time he'll spend with you later." And I sat there and thought about that. I'm like, damn, that's right. Speaking from personal experience, my biological father didn't raise me.
Okay.
He wasn't in my life. He didn't live in my house. I rarely talked to him on the phone. I didn't get phone calls for birthdays, gifts for holidays. I didn't get any of that. So he was pretty much non-existent. He might pop in every few years just to, show himself. But for the majority of the time, he was non-existent.
Right.
So now being an adult, my biological father is trying to change his ways, and he wants to make that effort to communicate and get to know me and I guess his other siblings, but he doesn't know how.
Right.
And he doesn't know how is because he never built that relationship and built that bond early.
Right.
So when he comes and approaches me, he doesn't know what to say.
Right.
And
you probably don't know what to say.
I don't know what to
It's
say.
Like, we don't really have a long-lasting relationship. We don't have that father and son relationship.
No, like the first brick was never laid.
Right.
You know what I mean? We never built anything.
Right.
So like on my end, I kind of just talk to him man to man. You know, you're not my father. You didn't raise me.
Yeah.
I had a stepfather. He raised me.
Right.
So my advice to fathers out there that aren't in their sons' lives or daughters' lives every single day living with them is to make the time and make the effort, because, you know, they grow up fast. You know, I can even think about, I feel like I grew up fast. Sometimes I still feel like I'm that 12-year-old kid. You know, but I'm here now. So, you know, life goes fast, and all we have is right now. And right now, maybe your kids need you.
Yeah.
And that might be just to see your face.
They for sure need you.
Yeah, they need you.
They for sure need you.
You know,
they're looking up to you, and they're looking at you to kind of show them the way, to show them how things are done. So I always say, man, if you're not there to raise your kids, someone else will be there to raise your kids, whether it be a stepfather, whether it be, you know, the streets, whether it be a gang. Someone's going to be there. They're going to be looking up to somebody to show them the way and show them guidance. So, be as involved as you can possibly be. You know, you kind of got to, when you do become a father, you kind of got to sacrifice a lot of, like we were saying, your livelihood to be there for, you know, your son or daughter. But yeah, you mentioned stepfather. You had a stepfather.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I didn't live with my dad, but my mom didn't remarry or anything like that. So I literally just know my mom and my dad. I didn't really have a step parent or anything like that. Speak to that, to having a stepfather.
So I could say I was one of the fortunate ones. I was one of the fortunate kids to have a stepfather that literally took the mantle of being the father. Because there's some situations where your mother gets with the person and they play stepfather, but they really don't want to deal with the child at all. They just really want to deal with the mother.
Right, absolutely.
So the kid is just there,
you
know, and the kid doesn't get the full attention.
Or when times get hard, and, you know, the kids lash out and like, you're not my dad. He'd be like, yeah, I'm sure not. I'm out.
You're not my son.
With that being said, deuces. Yeah.
So those situations out there, but, you know, fortunately for me, I didn't have that situation. You know, my stepdad came into my life at the age of 5, and from my point of view, I feel like we clicked instantly. One of my first memories is him taking me to the park. He took me to Legacy Park in Henderson, and he put me on the swings, and he's pushing me on the swings, and we're having fun. We're playing basketball. He showed me basketball, how to play, and it just started from there. And he was always interactive early on. Communicated. The interesting thing now thinking about it is you not being the father, you know, the blood father of the child, and discipline comes into play.
Right. And so, both your fathers are black, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
they're both black. But discipline came into play shortly after I believe my brother was born. 2 years after my stepfather came into my life. And obviously I was disciplined by my mom, but that's your mom, right? Your mom's going to give you unconditional love no matter what. But when it comes to your stepfather disciplining you, initially it's kind of like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you ain't my daddy. Like, you know, that happened.
That
in my
infamous
mind.
line, "You ain't my daddy.
You ain't my daddy.
I'm gonna
You
get
know?
my real daddy, kick your ass."
You know what I mean? So that thought comes into your mind, but you're a kid, so what? You know, you ain't really gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
So my mom had that conversation with me. You know, he's playing the role of your father. So, you know, as long as I let him do it, and I'm okay with it, hey, you gotta listen.
Respect him as such. Yeah.
You know, so you know there was discipline involved, and mentally it took me a while to get over, but you know, as I got older, I understood why he did it, and you know, there would be discipline, there would be, you know, butt whippings. I don't know if, you know, not everybody agrees with it.
Yeah.
I personally do, to a point. But yeah, I did get whooped. I did get put on punishment, but I was also told why and what I did wrong and what I can do to fix it.
Communication.
You know, so the communication factor was there. So on top of me being disciplined, I was able to learn from my mistakes as I went through it.
Right.
So for me, like I said, I had a fortunate, you know, stepfather relationship.
Yeah.
And I know it's not like that for most people.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And you say, so you were disciplined by your stepfather.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's say for whatever reason, you and your wife are separated, or you're not there full time. There's another man in the picture. She remarries, or she has a boyfriend, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And now this other man is in the house with your son, mm-hmm. or your child, and he's essentially raising your child when you're not there. Mm-hmm. He's pretty much there full time, majority of the time.
Right.
And your son comes to you, or your daughter comes to you and says, "Yo, so and so, you know, gave me whoopings last night." Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
Well, first, the relationship between the father and son has to be there for that communication to happen. So if the sperm donor, if the father is involved at all with the son and the mother outside of the household, then, you know, that conversation can happen. But if the father is non-existent, then the child wouldn't even have an opportunity to tell.
Okay, but so let's say you're still very involved in your child's life. You're there. You're just not living in the house because you and the mom are just not together. So you essentially see your son maybe every weekend. You see him a few times a week. Whatever the case is, you're just not there full time. And there's another man that lives now with the mother of your child and your child.
Oh, okay. So I think to answer your question instinctually, I'm gonna want to see that man.
Right.
You know, I'm going to want to see him. I'm going to want to confront him on why he did what he did and why my child is coming to me saying, you put their hands on him.
Right.
Initially, that's what I'm going to think. But depending on the circumstance of the relationship between I, myself, and the mother of the child, you have to talk to the mother. Because the mother may or may not have that communication with you.
Right.
Or with him. So say if the mother has that communication with the stepfather, hey, if my son or daughter does this, you could do A, B, and C. So I would have that conversation with her, say, hey, why is my son or daughter saying that this happened?
Yeah.
We would have that conversation, and if she's unaware, then I'm going to him.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an issue.
Right.
But if she knows, then I'm still going to have a conversation with him to let him know where I draw the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't think, you know, if I'm involved, I don't want my son to come back and tell me, hey, you know, I got whooped by this man.
For sure.
You know, but if I'm non-existent, then there is no say-so for me.
Yeah, you won't even know.
You won't even know.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be for me, that would be a very slippery slope. I would, so if any man is going to be living with my son or daughter, I feel like there needs to be a man-to-man had right from the jump, right? For you to even be in the same space as my child, I gotta know you. I gotta kind of get to know you. I gotta know your background. I gotta know your history. I gotta know where you work. I gotta know a little bit about you. I gotta know a lot about you, first and foremost. So if my child came to me and said, "This dude whooped me," that's not gonna fly with me at all, because that it's not gonna fly with me if I never had the conversation.
Oh yeah.
First and foremost, like, before you discipline my child, we got to have a man to man. So I think discipline my child, I would never want someone else outside of their mother to discipline my child, or outside of maybe an immediate family member, like a close uncle, close aunt, grandmother, something of that nature. Um, but so I would want to still to be able to take on that role. So if the kid needed to be disciplined, it's like, yo, mom, you should be able to discipline. If not, yo, call dad. Because I know when I was a kid, my whenever I was being bad, whenever I was giving trouble, the first thing my mom or any of my sisters would say is, yo, I'm calling your dad. And that would immediately tighten me up. Like, oh,
Right.
shoot, I was terrified of my dad.
Right.
So they would get my dad on the phone, and all my dad would have to do was breathe. And I would be terrified, and I'd be scared. So I would be like, yo, call me. I'll come down, I'll rush down, and I'll discipline my kid.
Right.
Now, if it was a situation where I felt, the dude was a good dude, he had good intentions, he really loved my kid, things of that nature, we would have to talk about boundaries and things like that nature. But again, I think it comes down to communication. I think it comes down to having the conversation, and being open to that being a reality. Someone essentially having to, when you're not there full time, having to discipline, your kid.
Right. And this is also coming from the perspective of the father wanting to be in the child's life.
Right, and actively being there, and wanting to discipline.
Yeah,
and
because there
to
are
parent.
the situations where the father don't want nothing to do with you.
Right, exactly.
Don't want nothing to do with the mama. Don't want to do nothing with the child.
Right, exactly.
And that's a particular situation. So,
Right, and that's back to that point. If you're not willing to be there and raise your kid and discipline your kid, someone else is going to do it. Whether it be a stepfather, whether it be a step boyfriend, whether it be the streets, whether it be a gang, someone's going to be there to, whether it be the police, right, whether it be the system, someone's going to be there to raise and discipline your kid. So fathers, black fathers, do your best. We're not saying you got to be in the household. We're not saying you got to be there full time.
Which we would love to be in the household.
Right, exactly.
But if the
Make an effort
circumstances,
to.
if the circumstance doesn't allow it, make the effort to be in your
Make the
child's life.
effort to communicate with the mother of your children, and if there is, make an effort to communicate with that male figure that is there full time, whether it be a stepfather, step boyfriend, or or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that's kind of up to the person, up to the father to decide to be in the child's life or not, right? So we kind of covered that a little bit. But let's talk about if the father doesn't have a choice, because there are a lot of situations out there where the system got a hold of the father of the household, and that's why he's not in the household today.
Right, and that happens a lot. A lot of what systemic racism, a lot of that is breaking the black family dynamic, right, and taking the father out of the household, and that comes down to the prison industrial complex. It comes down to police targeting black men and arresting them at alarming rates for nonviolent crimes and giving them harsher sentences. And a lot of that is planned. It's again to take the leader of the household, the black father, out of the household. so that your kids are growing up without a father.
Right.
And again, if you're not there to raise your kids, if you're not there as a father figure, as a man to be there and discipline and teach and protect, someone else is going to do it.
Definitely.
Someone else is going to do it. So, but yeah, I think that's very real, man. I think there is a system in play to take the father out of the household.
Yeah. It's a system in play to take the father out, when it comes to the prison industrial complex. Prison is a business.
Yeah.
And the only way for the business to make money is if it is occupied. So
Right.
you need people in prison for the prison to make money.
Right.
So they target black and brown men to fill those prisons.
Absolutely.
So that's a big thing. Not to say that, black and brown men don't commit crimes. All people commit crimes.
Right.
Of all races, of all colors,
Right.
all religions, they commit crimes. But specifically, black and brown men are in those prisons.
Right.
And those, stop a lot of families from being whole and thriving to get to the next level.
Right.
And
Exactly.
on top of, the prison system, there's also kind of like I guess you would say a personal choice. Some black men are out there, they don't have knowledge of self, and they think about everything else but them, They think about everything else. They don't think about everything else but themselves.
Right.
I don't even know if I said that right. They think about themselves only and nothing else.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
they may have a kid due to, lust or whatever the case may be, and not using protection, and have this kid and just like, they get fearful and scared and they run away.
Right.
And then within their own, thing that they're going on within them, they might go and they, do stupid things or be in, the wrong place at the wrong time that can get them in that system.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways, that the system tries to not have us around. I
Absolutely.
also, I could recall, I can't tell you what year, but I think it was in the 60s or 70s that the government actually gave money to black women, but they verified that the husband doesn't live in the house.
Right,
so they would
right.
actually be like, hey, you can't live here so I can get this check.
Right. Exactly.
So the government's kind of using black women to tell the man to get out the house.
Right.
And that's also been a part. Like, hey, get out so I can go collect this check.
Right.
And I think that mentality needs to stop.
Yeah.
Is because, you're looking for the money and you're looking for, the money for the week or the groceries or the bill money, but you're taking away a teacher from that child. You're taking away, the person that is supposed to show you the way.
Right.
The pathway to, success on this planet.
Right. Or just even you're taking away someone that is another person that's just there to love them, and look out for their best interests. It's, I'm a strong believer in, every child, especially black children, with kind of what's going on in the world with, a lot of the things in regards to systemic racism that we're facing, kids getting gunned down the street, gangs, all these things. I strongly feel like a kid needs both parents, your kids do need a father figure. So it's important to, again, be in your kids' lives. The best thing, of course, is to be there full time. Be there when they wake up. Be there when they go to sleep. In between that, of course, that's not, going to be everybody's situation. And if that isn't your situation, just try to be there and try and engage, man. Give them a call if you can't be there physically. Now we got FaceTime. Hit them on the FaceTime. I have friends that, their kids are a little bit older, so they're always texting with them. That goes a long way, too. Text. Follow them on social media. Comment on their posts. Be in the DMs. Whatever you got to do to engage with your kid and be a part of their lives and let them know that you love them. You're there for them. You're a backbone for them. That's going to be the most important thing. And to your point, you know, you gotta sacrifice a little bit of your livelihood for your kids.
You have to.
If you're gonna be there for your kids, you're gonna have to sacrifice, you know, some time, you know, personal time, a little bit of your livelihood just to be there for your kids, and it's gonna pay off. Like you said, you know, you spend time with your kids now, so that they spend time with you later.
Hey, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be an old man.
Yeah.
And needing somebody to take care of me, and I got to pay for it.
Right.
When if you just loved your kids and spent time with your kids throughout their childhood,
right,
they would be glad to take care of you in your old age.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, damn, I don't have my relationship with my kids. Like I'm getting older. I'm dying. I'm sick. Like, and that's just another situation you got to fight.
Yeah.
Knowing that you don't have family.
Yeah.
That you cultivated and you know brought up on love to come help you out when you need it. And I feel like, you know, with my biological father, he tells me his dying wish is to have all of his children in one room. Mm. He has 9 kids, 9 different women.
Yeah.
You know, so I come from a situation that is not perceived as normal, but I take it for what it is. But he told me, you know, my dying wish is to have all my kids in the same room one day.
Yeah.
And I flat out told him, I think that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, just based off of you didn't cultivate any of these relationships.
Right.
You know, so how do you expect an adult to take time out of their week to come be in a room with you and their other siblings that they don't know about because you didn't connect?
You reap what you sow, man. So if you're not planting any seeds, if you're planting the seed but you're not watering the seeds, you're not nurturing those relationships, then they're gonna fall at the wayside, or they're gonna be non-existent. And like you said, you're gonna be old, laying up, and you're not gonna have anyone to take care of you. So man, again, not to be preachy or anything like that, but you know, lay that foundation, plant those seeds. Don't just plant them, nurture them, man. Water those seeds. It's not. And to speak to the fathers that are in the house too, but they feel like that's enough, that ain't enough. Like, you got to engage. You got to be there for your kids. You got to help them with their homework. You know what I mean? You got to have conversations with them. There's going to come a time where they don't want to talk to you, you know, when they're teenagers. You got to kind of force yourself on them, or find a way to relate to them and continue to have those conversations with them. You know, being a parent is a full-time job. Whether you're in the house full-time or not, it's a full-time job. So, again, you're going to have to dedicate yourself to it. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to communicate with the other adults in that kid's life. But, again, it's all going, it's going to pay off. You know what I mean? Definitely. At the end of the day, that's your kid. That's your offspring. That is your legacy. And it's never too late at the same time. You know, if you don't have that relationship with your kid right now, or you didn't have it early, it's never too late. But, you know, if you do want to turn it around, you got to make an effort, and you got to make a consistent effort. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, man, like
that's my 2 cents.
It's wild because a parent, you know, when they get in that older age and they didn't cultivate that relationship early on, they're going to have regrets. They're going to think, damn, what if I would have just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's human nature to have regrets if you go through life and you look back and you didn't do what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I think innately in all parents, regardless if you're in the kid's life or not, you're going to have some sort of regret, but you don't want to have the regret of, I don't know my kid. Mm-hmm. My kid doesn't know me.
Right.
You know, because you kind of severed that cord.
Yeah.
And it can't be your legacy if you didn't cultivate it.
Right.
You know, because that kid just started his own legacy.
Right.
You know, without you. He's not carrying, you didn't pass him the baton, you didn't pass the torch.
Yeah.
It's not your legacy anymore.
Yeah.
You let the torch burn out with you.
Absolutely.
And that's not something that, you know, we should do as black men, you know, with our families, with our offspring. Like, we have to pass that torch. We have to give that knowledge. We have to give, you know, our wisdom.
Right.
You know, and just to guide our kids in the best direction possible as we see fit.
Absolutely, absolutely. You gotta provide that guidance, because we all love our kids, right? But it's not enough. Just loving your kids is not enough. Loving your kids from a distance is not enough. You gotta be there. You gotta provide that guidance. You gotta provide that wisdom. You gotta share that experience, and just share that love. Up close and personal. And sometimes that's again, it's gonna take jumping over some hurdles. It's gonna take communicating with people that you might not want to communicate with, but if it means your kid is gonna be in a better place, then so be it, man.
Definitely.
So be it. So we just want to come on here, man, and talk about our black fathers. Kind of just give our POV and our experience. There's a lot of great fathers out there, a lot of great fathers that we know personally. So we just want to shout you out. Keep doing your thing, and
keep being a great example.
Keep being a great example, role model, all that.
Because not only are your kids looking at you as an example, you also have your friends looking at you as an example. Because you might have a friend that doesn't have a kid,
right, and
they're kind of seeing you, deal with your family, and that's kind of giving them inspiration.
Yeah.
So do it for yourself, do it for your kids, and do it because everybody in some way, shape, or form is a leader.
Absolutely.
So all the fathers that are doing your thing, man, salute. We love it. We love to see, black families together, strong.
Absolutely. And all the stepfathers too, salute. All the father figures, period. Because it does take a village, man. It takes a village to raise these kids. So, even if you're not a father to a kid, but you're a father figure, if you're a coach, if you're a teacher,
an uncle,
a mother, salute. It takes a village. So let's keep raising these kids the right way. Let's raise them into young kings and queens, and make sure they're well equipped to take on this thing that we call life, man.
Definitely, man.
And with that being said, thank you for riding with us. We appreciate y'all for taking the journey with us, and we'll see you on the next one, on the next ride.
We out.